Hello, and welcome to the All Things Narrative podcast, where we explore the relationships between the stories we love and the stories we live. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm not the only one in the house today.
That's right.
I got some friends here today joining me for our first episode of Why We Love... ... So who's in the house? Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
You.
Okay, all right. I can always go first, you know. I'm here, Joseph Wilson. You can follow me on my YouTube at Joe Lee Stark 25. That's JOELEE space. You know, put that space in. Stark STARK 25. Follow me on YouTube. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it what I post.
That we will.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Joe Lee Stark. I have a feeling in a couple months we got to talk about that Stark and why Mr. Stark. So, and who else do we got here?
My name is Jason Lynn. I am a native Floridian. I don't do anything super flashy or interesting. Follow me nowhere.
Yeah,
I enjoy most things, and I can have an appreciation for most things. But yeah, that's basically it.
Most things.
Most things.
Most things.
Not all things, but most things.
No.
So thank you all for joining us. This is the episode on the third Tuesday of the month where we take a popular franchise in our culture. And what we're actually doing for the year of 2022 is I'm going through, I looked at the top film franchises, you know, in terms of box office gross and, you know, just kind of overall audience love. Mm-hmm. And I said, all right, let's do 10, top 10. And we're just going to kind of make our way through these franchises throughout the year. And what better way to start than talking about the Dark Knight himself?
Superman.
Yes, that probably would have been more appropriate to start with Superman. But no, we're starting about Batman.
That's right.
So why we love the Batman. Or do we love the Batman? Or do we not? I don't know. Let's dig into it, all right?
Or the man Batman?
Do you love the man?
Or do
you don't have to be ashamed of that on here. All right, so we're going to start off with a brief history of Batman. So just to catch our listeners up in case you don't know, so you got the popular DC Comics, and they had just created Superman in 1938. And a year later, they wanted to create another superhero that was going to kind of not rival him, but kind of complement him in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But what they actually got instead was the polar opposite. And I think that was a genius move on the creator's part. They were inspired by detective stories like Sherlock Holmes, pulp comics like The Shadow, film serials like Zorro. And they ended up creating Batman. And so in 1939, Bob Kane and Bill Finger put out Detective Comics number 27, and that is the first appearance of Batman. That's how he was introduced to the world.
I do remember that the original concept for Batman was completely different from what it was originally going to be.
What do you remember?
What it is. I think they literally wanted to make him kind of look like a bat, like a literal actual bat, where I think he had a brown cape or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember hearing that.
Yeah, you're correct. It's like he literally had a bat thing he was wearing. He had red. I believe he wore red. And he had a black little face mask. It looked so stupid.
It was very dumb.
I was about to say, I don't think it doesn't sound like it looked cool.
No, and that's Bill Finger really gets a lot of credit for that edginess of Batman. And Batman was really popular in the 40s. In the 1950s, if you guys know your comic book history, that's when the book Seduction of the Innocent came out. And that's when there was the congressional hearing about whether comic books were corrupting the minds of youth. Mm-hmm. And so what came out of that is the Comics Code Authority. So if you pick up a comic book from around that time to about the 1980s, it had to have a seal that it was approved. It's basically like censorship, you know? And so Batman became heavily censored. And at the 50s, you know, despite introducing some of the greatest rogues gallery villains of all time in the 40s, in the 50s, they put Batman against monsters and supernatural entities on other planets. Needless to say, Batman took a nosedive, and it wasn't until the 60s that he was kind of revitalized and rebranded, and that culminates in the Adam West TV show. the very campy one.
Yeah, it still has that goofiness to it, but it's like a little more.
But nonetheless, at that time, his dark edginess was kind of lost. And so it wasn't until the 70s with Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil. They're the ones that really bring Batman back. They start to move him back to that direction of that edginess. And it's also at that time where they begin in Batman stories doing social commentary on political issues and different things going on. But really, the Batman that we all know and love, we do not get till about the mid-1980s when a guy named Frank Miller writes two really prolific comics, Batman Year One and Batman The Dark Knight Returns. And out of Frank Miller's work, and these were also like standalone stories, so they weren't tethered to mainstream continuity, so that gave them a lot of freedom. After that, that's when you start getting Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, and you get Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum. And then you get into 1989, and Tim Burton's Batman movie really brings this dark, gritty Batman into mainstream, and then that becomes the version that is really embraced, and that leads to the animated series in the 90s, and lots of films spurred off that. Yeah, and then, Batman continues to dominate through the 90s and the 2000s through films, Nolan trilogy, the Arkham games, all kinds of stuff. And that's what we're going to get into. So
I was just trying to show Jason just a little bit of The Dark Knight Returns, the Joker versus Batman. He hasn't seen it.
That fight is so good where they're in the tunnel of love. They're like Joker, like he's at a carnival and he's causing all this chaos.
This is which one?
In Dark Knight Returns.
The one I was trying to show you right
Which has a really brilliant animated film. That's 2 parts. Mm-hmm. And so that ends up like Joker is just killing people at the carnival left and right. Jeez. And he ends up going in the tunnel of love, and that's where him and Batman have their final confrontation, which is so appropriate, for their relationship. And then he almost kills the Joker, but he stops himself.
But at that point, pretty much Joker won because he had Batman lose control, lose his moral ground, and the Joker ended up killing himself, like snapping his own neck, just turning it.
Oh, he was that close where he could just... I got the rest.
Yeah. But when the cops came, it looks like Batman killed Joker. So it's even...
Yeah, it's a good story.
It is.
Great story. Yes, so that's history of Batman. Now what I'd like to talk about a little bit is our personal introduction. So how were you first introduced to the Caped Crusader?
I guess I'll go. I think I have the least knowledge and experience when it comes to Batman. I guess you could call me the layman, a little more or less anyways. I don't know if this was the first or if this was just very early, but I remember that my dad did have the VCR of I can't remember, Adam West, the
VHS.
Mm-hmm. Adam West, and he's got the eyebrows on the mask. He's got Robin in like a near Speedo. Yeah. All the villains are there and super goofy.
Is that the movie? Is that the 66 movie with Joker, Catwoman, Riddler, and Penguin?
I believe it's when they have the cruise ship that goes underwater.
Okay.
And I remember...
I've never seen that one.
Batman
You've never seen that?
No, I've never
You've at least seen the shark bit, right?
Oh, where he's
punching the shark and he's got the spray?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
I can't ever get that out of my mind. Batman's climbing. He's on the helicopter. He's
holding
onto the ladder. Right? This giant rubber shark is just on his leg and he's punching it. And it's like boom, boom, boom. It just looks completely silly.
It's
and
so
Robin's
good.
like, here is the shark repellent spray, Batman.
Shark repellent bat spray.
Shark repellent bat spray. And he takes this thing and just sprays it on his face. And it falls into the water and explodes. It was a bomb the whole time. It was so campy and hilarious.
That's funny.
That's
funny.
That's hilarious. And the other part of the movie I love is when he has the bomb, like a literal like cartoon like bomb with like the little
the like dynamite.
Yeah,
and he's running to try to find.
And he has to, and he's running, and it's not like 10 seconds. It's like 2-3 minutes where he's just running through Gotham trying to figure out where to dump the bomb.
Got like a foot-long fuse on it. this giant thing.
The villain wanted to be considerate with the fuse. That's funny.
According to plan. So that was a very early one.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? How were you introduced?
I was introduced by my brother, my oldest brother. He's a big Batman fan. And then like the definitive Batman that I've seen like in animated was like from the Justice League series.
Okay, interesting.
So I started off, like really liking Batman from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Justice League TV show is in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's such a great show.
It is. I love that show so much.
And yeah, mine was the I grew up in like the early mid 90s, so it was the animated series, you know. I had a Mask of the Phantasm on VHS.
Okay.
I remember like being 5, 6 years old and watching that. And I look back and I'm like, I did not understand this movie at 5, 6 years old.
That's funny.
You know, because it's so sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's deep. We'll talk about that when we get to our favorite Batman movies, but man, yeah, so the animated series, you know, Saturday morning cartoons, watching reruns on that weekday afternoons after school. And I had the action, so the toys were a big thing too. You know, so like it was.
See, I never got like the DC toys. Honestly, I actually grew up in like a dinosaur.
I was like, bet.
Yeah.
Why we love dinosaurs.
High key.
Yeah, those animated series toys. I was like I was hunting for those. You know,
funny.
like those and X-Men toys. I was really like looking for. You know, but yeah, that was my introduction was really toys in the animated series. So. So cool. So we got our personal introductions to Batman. Let's start diving a little bit into the psychology of Batman.
Okay.
All right. So we know the story of Bruce Wayne, you know.
Multiple times and multiple showings and multiple movies. Yes.
Multiple traumas.
You know, people like dog on like I'm tired of seeing like his parents getting killed. I'm like, yeah, but it's so important to the mythos.
Yeah, but everyone knows his parents died.
I know.
Like it's just tied to him. It's like Spider-Man to Uncle Ben.
Right.
He dies.
Yeah,
every
so
Spider-Man.
So in case you don't know what we're talking about here, Bruce Wayne is, you know, his parents, they go out to see a movie or a play, whatever version of the story they tell. But his parents are gunned down in an alley, and Bruce Wayne, you know, he experiences that trauma. But, you know, the story of Batman is the story of taking your trauma and growing out of it and becoming something, letting your trauma not necessarily define you, because I would argue that if he would have gone the route of wanting to kill and vent, you know, all that stuff, he would have been defined by that. But he wants to take that and incorporate it in, but he wants to become a symbol of something greater, you know? That's why I think his no-kill rule is so important.
Yeah.
He knows that he's capable of crossing that line and becoming, he does not want to become the thing that took his parents.
But I would kind of argue with it.
Okay.
In a sense of, I think the best versions of Batman are when he crosses that line. Because then it's it's a story redemption after. Like, I like when it shows, like, the gritty Batman, like, oh, man, he lost it. Like, he doesn't care anymore.
What's like an example of one of those stories that does that for you?
Y'all about to dog on me, but Batman versus Superman.
I'm not going to dog on you for that.
Okay, so
We'll
like
get to my rankings.
Yeah. But I think that's a great example of it, to be on. Well, I want to say great, but one of the better versions that they put it on screen.
Interesting.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that because that's a story. See, the way I interpreted that was like he didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, like who died. Like, you know, that's why he's like, you know, he's going through the Batmobile. Things are exploding. He's not like deliberately, intentionally killing.
He opened fire with those machine guns.
He did, and I'm not going to argue against that. He did open fire machine guns on
intentional.
people. But I see it as like he was just at a point where he broke, and every man breaks. I think that's like better to show like, okay, he's not like Superman or like these other like superpower individuals. He's still a man at the end of the day, and that was his breaking point. It wasn't Bane that broke his back. It was losing Robin in that universe that broke his back in a sense, and he was just a broken man after that.
But let me ask you something though.
Okay.
How do you like have that, because you cross that line, you know? And that's what a lot of adaptations talk about is like, you know, if I cross that line, there's no going back, you know? Now, once he does that, is he no better than the criminals who have also crossed that line to get there?
I mean, he's not, but he's still what Gotham needs at the end of the day.
But is he though? Because I think even with Zack Snyder's interpretation, like when Tori watches that movie, she's like, her interpretation of it, which is interesting because she's a very outside interpretation. She's like, he's become the villain. He's become like one of his villains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, you're right, but that's uncomfortable, you know, to think about.
But I like that. I like stories like
Jason,
that.
you're making a face right now.
No, I don't want to get too much into it. Are we? We are allowed to talk about it.
And we'll do a whole section.
I don't want to talk a lot about it, but that point was brought up. Is in the beginning, it was vengeance, right?
Yeah, in the Batman.
In the Batman, but at the end, hope is what was transforming his whole meaning of why he was doing what he was doing. In the beginning, it was vengeance. It's punishment. I don't care what happens to me. I'm following my parents' legacy. I'm air quoting for you listeners. And he didn't care about the victims. Yeah. And the one victim in the beginning was just as scared of him, if not even more, than the muggers. But it's how, no matter what happens, how strongly do you as a man hold to the values that you've set?
That's a good way to talk about it, you know?
It's not that I disagree with that. I like seeing stories start off with the broken Batman, and then, like I said in the beginning, getting that redemption.
And he refines his value.
Yes, exactly. That's what I like. That's the Batman story.
And you like,
not just how you messed up.
And you like that because you said a moment ago that there's some semblance that's how life can go. You know, that's important to talk about because when we talk about the narrative, the story of Batman, I think one of the reasons, or I should say one of the things that makes it so compelling, you know, is the fact that there's so many different stories that have been told about the same character, you know, and there's different ways that we can connect with it. One of the ways that we can connect with that is like this understanding of, you know, what I talk about on the show here is like the narrative metaphor. So, you know, like we tell ourselves stories about ourselves to ourselves, like internally, you know? So like Bruce Wayne has this internal story of, you know, my parents died, you know, what will I become out of this, you know? Because he never wants to let another kid, he wants to prevent that from happening. He knows he can't prevent that for himself, but he wants to prevent that from happening to somebody else, which is why I love in Batman stories when they incorporate like something about like a kid, you know, and they do that in BVS, they do that in The Batman. We'll talk about all that.
Yeah.
But
that one is much better. I won't lie.
Yeah. But I love that idea that he has a narrative that he sees himself in. And it's funny because there's actually a couple narratives he's in. You know, because one of the things I talk about is like we don't live just one story, we live many stories. Yeah. So he does live the story of, you know, being Batman, going out at night, you know, beating criminals, trying to bring justice to the chaos of Gotham. But he's also got this other narrative that he has to be in, which is the narrative of Bruce Wayne. I have to run this company, you know, I have to have a certain kind of image so that people don't suspect it's me. This very face. Playboy. Yeah. And so the thing that fascinates me about the story of Batman is how when he's Batman, that's the story that he wants. Mm-hmm. But is it even the story he wants, or is it the story that he thinks is demanded of him? You know? And the story of Bruce Wayne is almost the necessity of like, oh, I have to do this. Mm. And I think sometimes in life, we have certain narratives that we live in that we love. Yeah. And that bring us passion that we're alive for, and other narratives that might really weigh us down or that we put up a facade. Because that's the interesting thing is Bruce Wayne is the mask. You know, Batman is the real. That is who he really is. Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just getting fired up because that was in the newest one, and yeah, it's almost as if the Bruce Wayne narrative is just to sustain the true one, that he feels like it's the story he can't stop that he started.
And doesn't it make you wonder if in your life too you do that? Like, what is like this kind of image?
What kind of image that you put out on yourself, or
so that you could have another narrative that you live into.
I have a proposed question. Yeah. Is the Batman identity even necessary? Or is it actually the thing that hinders like Bruce Wayne?
Hinders him from what?
Hinders him from actually doing good in the city.
Oh, I see. Because if he's Bruce Wayne, he could actually make maybe changes, like how his father was, running for mayor in some interpretation,
I think that's
interesting.
What ties him to beating criminals to a pulp is the direct involvement with not necessarily the exact person, but with the guy who did it. He is seeing to it with his own hands that this is being delivered. It's the instant gratification instead of just, I'm putting these processes in place to make sure that this doesn't happen. And you can say, yeah, this is helping, but he is going, no, I literally stopped this guy with my bare hands. Like, I am stopping this. I'm seeing it happen. And every night he is going and he is confronting the person who killed his parents. Yeah. By himself, directly.
Yeah, it's him going to face that trauma head on rather than being in a boardroom and dealing with it that way. It's very American when you think about it. Because I know people think of like Superman as like the embodiment of like the American hero. But Batman really is. I mean, think about it. He's like this individualist who's like, it's up to me. I have to do it. And
American.
One of the things I see with the story of Batman is it's a very human story, which is I think why a lot of people gravitate towards it. He doesn't have any powers, but also because I think the story of Batman is about how one man can endure trauma and can try to better himself from it. So like if you look at like the animated series, for example, you learn that Bruce Wayne traveled all over the world and learned different things from different kinds of people, and these people taught him physical things. They taught him mental things, emotional things. And he's trying to, it's almost like a quest to become like the ultimate self-made human being. Now, the irony is we know he's not a self-made human. Yeah. We know that there's a ton of people that influence that. But it's this idea of like, I want to become the ultimate version of myself. This. Yeah. And Batman is that. It's not Bruce Wayne. Because I wonder, go back to what you just said, if he had that same energy for Bruce Wayne.
That's what I'm saying. If like he had like a healthy medium, like how would that look like?
Right.
Because he could still give his time to the Bruce Wayne persona instead of just completely denouncing it. Because that persona still does bring like a sense of good.
Well, my question is, so I don't know so many. Does he pour a lot of time and effort into Bruce Wayne philanthropy and all of that?
I think in some versions,
but not a lot. Like it's not really focused on.
So he's usually more Batman than Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Oh yeah, which is his true identity. Goes for the story, but the question is that even
necessary?
Good? Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things we got to talk about, like, because we're spending some time talking about Batman, but we also got to talk about the villains. We got to talk about that rogues gallery.
Oh, we're already into that. Are we? We're done with the psychology of Batman?
No. This is because here's the thing. I think this is part of the psychology of Batman.
Yep.
So you guys have heard that theory that the villains are like kind of like the funhouse mirror distorted versions of Batman, right? Yeah. So it's like, all right, you guys are gonna help me. We're gonna kind of flesh these out a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So the way I think about it is there's 5 different types of threats that Batman has. So like physical threats and because again, if we think about this a quest of being like the ultimate human being, these different threats have to challenge different parts of being human. So I feel like the physical threats challenge the body. So like, what are the villains that come to mind that are like the big physical threats that put a demand on his body?
Killer Croc.
Yeah.
Bane.
Yeah.
I'd say Deathstroke.
Yes,
I feel like Deathstroke
100%.
is like the 100% like complete opposite of like a Batman, because it's the skill and stuff like that, but also it's no morals.
Right.
Like he's just going out there killing folk. Well, I guess he's hired, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
You're just shooting folk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Deathstroke, Killer Croc, Bane, Solomon Grundy, maybe even even Clayface to a degree.
Yeah.
But like, let's take Bane as a good example here, right? Bane represents like this obsession. Like Bane is obsessed with physically, making himself like so much so that he would inject this venom into his body that could potentially harm him over time.
That sounds like someone from Marvel. Captain America.
Oh my God. We're not there yet, Joe. The world doesn't need to know about your Cap hatred yet.
I guess I'm just giving a preview of it.
Oh my gosh, we'll get
It's not
there.
needed.
But yeah, but Bane's a good example of that physical obsession, discipline, and I love like in the comic, I actually have that comic where Bane breaks Batman's back.
Oh yeah.
And in Dark Knight Rises, that's easily one of the best. That's easily the best fight scene in any of Nolan's movies, like in terms of how it's shot and edited and whatnot. Just that scene with Batman and Bane in the Batcave going at it,
Yeah.
So that's like that gives you a sense of the physical demand that would take.
Yeah. Couldn't be me. It means I have to exercise.
So the second type of threat is what I call like the moral threat, and these really challenge like the soul of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So these would be like Ra's al Ghul, and who would be like, come join the League of Assassins, or if you watch Nolan's trilogy, League of Shadows, come join, and we're going to cleanse Gotham. Like Penguin and Black Mask, who are like, they're like these distorted images of growing up out of privilege, but taking that privilege and trying to, because Penguin is ultimately they're both trying to control, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to control the city, but it becomes this control for self-interest and not for like a philanthropist, I
would even say Mr. Freeze.
How so?
In the sense of like Mr. Freeze is trying to save someone he loves, and Batman, he can't do that. But I'm sure if given a chance, he would do everything in his power to save the one he loves.
Okay. Oh, I think I interpreted this question a little bit differently. These are like reflections of his struggles.
Yeah.
Okay, not the struggles that directly face him.
Well, they can be, but like Penguin is an example of like Bruce Wayne. If he would have gone, a different route, and maybe would have, maybe Falcone at a young age takes him under his wing, and maybe Bruce Wayne starts to use his wealth,
Multiverse.
for the right, uses his wealth for the mob, and start, so it's like almost like these what if scenarios of if Bruce Wayne didn't have that moral compass, what could happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you said about Mr. Freeze, though, because Mr. Freeze is somebody who almost shuts off.
Yeah.
In favor, like there's a strange morality there of trying to save his wife, but in order to do that, he has to turn off his morals for everywhere else. And there is that idea that if Batman didn't have an Alfred, for example, because Alfred is the one who really keeps him grounded in his humanity.
Yeah.
And so if he didn't have like an Alfred, like if he lost Alfred,
like what would he look like? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So the third one is what I call like the emotional threats, and these really challenge his heart. So like Catwoman's a great example of that, plays with the idea of, being romantics, having a life, all that stuff. Two-Face, because that's his friend. Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne were friends, Yeah. And now every time he looks at Two-Face, he's reminded of his failure. He could not save his friend.
I didn't actually like know that, like how deep the relationship between him and like Harvey Dent is. Okay. Like that's even like, ooh, that's deeper.
And he always sees the half of him that's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That
wild.
would be haunting.
That would be haunting. That's literally looking like a.
It's like this is what you were and this is what you've become, and I see that every time I look at
I love that in The Dark Knight Returns. But you remember The Dark Knight Returns where he gets that surgically fixed in that, you know?
Yeah.
What?
And yeah, he gets his face, fixed, and it's supposed to psychologically fix him. But then he goes back out there, and the thing they keep saying is like, now he's cut both sides of it. He's damaged both sides of his face on purpose, you know?
Oh.
And what you find in the panel, it's so brilliant how it does it. But when it reveals his face, when Batman captures him and his face is normal, you realize his heart breaks because he realizes that the face only augmented what was inside of him.
Yeah.
It never caused it. It only brought it to light. And that's what damns Batman in that moment.
Wow.
Because he realizes, this wasn't just a tragedy. This is who he's become.
Wow, that's almost like in Dark Knight when Harvey Dent Commissioner Gordon came to him and he said, I've heard that you're refusing, painkillers and skin grafts.
Right.
And he's like, what did they used to call me at the academy? Why should I hide what's inside?
Yeah.
And he's like, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to look like then. Wow. I didn't know that's how it was in that movie.
Dark Knight Returns. It's good. Red Hood, Hush, Talia al Ghul.
Yeah, no, I agree with Red Hood. Batman's biggest failure, to be honest.
Yeah, Jason Todd.
Really? Tell me about Red Hood. I don't know much about that. That was that one of the Robins?
Yeah, so that's the Robin that Joker killed by beating him with a crowbar. He beat him to death with a crowbar.
Wow.
And then he was resurrected in some different iterations. It's like in the original one, he was brought back to life during the Crisis and Infinite Earth. Is that what it was called? Superboy Prime literally punched existence, and Jason Todd came back to life. So that was the comic version, and then they did it something differently in the other types. But
and the struggle comes from
him showing Batman hey, I died because of you, and you still didn't even kill the Joker.
Because the Red Hood's not afraid to cross that line.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
And he resents Batman for not doing it.
He's like, I'll do what you can't now.
Yes, exactly. And the worst part about that is that the only reason why Jason Todd died in the comics was because the Vans voted for him to die.
Yeah, that's just...
They didn't even
wow.
No, that was not the writer's decision. They let the Vans vote, and the fans ruthlessly wanted him killed off.
Wow.
In the death in the family.
And they got it.
But yeah, and a lot of these emotional threats, that's that double life, that it challenges. Batman has to have the mask of Bruce Wayne, but Catwoman, Two-Face, Red Hood, these are people who embrace
that way.
They've merged the two.
And they've merged the two, and it's become toxic and dangerous. So the fourth one is intellectual threats that challenge the mind.
Oh, Riddler, easily.
Easily, right? He's got some other really smart villains too.
I would even say, is it Ra's al Ghul's daughter?
Talia.
I say Talia.
Yeah.
Because, she, not to put it bluntly, but she pretty much got Batman's kid.
Yeah.
And just that, just the cunning that you have to even get him in such a vulnerable state.
To use that as leverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it's Ra's al Ghul's daughter. So that's even more.
And that's one thing I really appreciate in we'll get to this when we talk about the Batman in a couple minutes. But I really appreciate that Batman's actually smart. He is really smart, but I think in some movies he's been really dumb.
Yeah.
World's greatest detective.
Right. And the last one is, of course, psychological threats. These are the ones, that are the ones we find in Arkham Asylum that are just the nut. And they challenge
Joker.
Yeah, this is your Joker,
Scarecrow.
your Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Poison Ivy, Mad Hatter, Hugo Strange. They've lost it in the head, Yeah. And it's interesting because Scarecrow is easily probably besides the Joker, my favorite Batman villain.
Yes.
But what I love about Scarecrow is he weaponizes fear. Yeah. Batman is trying to do something very similar. Scarecrow, the thing that kills me about Scarecrow is he was a doctor at Arkham. He is somebody who knows what crazy is.
Yeah.
He knows psychology, and he uses that to tap into people's fears. And I'm that is so, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, still waiting for my awesome Scarecrow live action scene. But of course, when you talk about villains, you got to talk about the Joker. the great.
Actually, I don't really like Joker.
Yeah, what if we didn't talk about the Joker this whole podcast?
Actually, let's just skip Joker.
Oh man. Yeah, no, you gotta talk about the Joker. And I don't know what do you guys see with the Joker?
I see someone that literally has no touch in reality and does whatever he wants.
He severed his tie with humanity.
No rules, no order.
Just lawlessness.
He's
Mad Max in a person. If Mad Max was a person, that'd be the Joker.
Yeah, he's that classic elemental villain where he's become the evil. You know, he's an incarnation of evil. I don't know. Let me ask you guys a question. You give Joker a sympathetic backstory. Good idea, bad idea?
Bad idea.
Why?
It humanizes him too much. Joker is a force. He doesn't need to be humanized. He's just joke.
Well, he's like the embodiment of the chaos to Batman's order.
Exactly.
You know, and he represents, like, we need a reminder that chaos just kind of exists.
Mm-hmm.
So would that come with saying that it's not possible to get to this point as an actual human? Like,
I think it can be, and I think that's why we need that in fiction. Is we need that line to show us what the worst of us could be.
Mm-hmm.
With or without trauma, though. Even with trauma, like they don't, not having a sympathetic background to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I mean, in some stories he's just a punk gangster who just didn't make the cut. There's other stories where he has a wife and he has a career and it all gets, But for me, it doesn't matter, because no matter what trauma a human being endures,
they can still...
Yeah, just read Viktor Frankl's work.
So that kind of reminds me of like Rick from Rick and Morty, because they gave him that sympathetic like background, like, oh, his wife and daughter died, and then he tried to hunt everybody down, and he's just like this. But in the show before, it showed him again as just this unstoppable force. Like, he knew every equation, he could fix any problem, and that was just him.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the same for Joker. I don't want to see him humanized because there's no point to it. I feel like there's no excuse for the horrific acts that he's committing, because again, it kind of goes to that point. What do you define what do you do with your trauma?
Right. So if you give him the sympathetic backstory, you almost give even the tiniest room for justification.
Yes.
There should really be none at all.
Exactly. There's no reason. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, we got to remember that stories in fiction are edited and they're crafted. Mm-hmm. They're not like, they're meant to parallel and take things from real life.
Yeah.
But they're also there to guide us in real life, In the Dark Knight, for example, I don't know if you guys ever heard of a guy named Rene Girard.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay. So there's a lot of good evidence that the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker in the Dark Knight, that Christopher Nolan read a lot of Rene Girard when he created it. So Rene Girard wrote a book. It's actually right behind Joseph's head on my shelf. It's called I See Satan Fall Like Lightning. And so
I've heard of that book.
So what the book kind of goes into, it's a really great book for studying evil. And so what it talks about is this idea that Satan, the Satan, is like the embodiment of chaos and evil. And what happens is human beings allow that corruption of that chaos when we start scapegoating. Mm-hmm. So we see in the Dark Knight that the Joker is trying to corrupt the soul of Gotham. Yeah. But it's interesting because you get this scene, and there's several scenes I could talk about, but I'll just talk about this one. You get the scene with the boats.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the scene of like, who's going to push the button first? The people who feel like they deserve to live because they're not criminals. Yeah. And they're like, oh, they're criminals, they're beyond redemption. Or is it the criminals, the people who are looking at those people on the other side? They're looking at their privilege. They're looking at maybe they even are responsible for them being here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But who's going to do that, right? And it's the scapegoating. That's what you see on the boats is they're arguing about who's going to do it. And that's actually what that book talks about in psychologically is the Satan, when he moves like within people, and it tries to get people to see like the other.
Yeah.
You know? And when you do that, and you no longer see them as human beings capable of redemption, and you dehumanize them, you actually dehumanize yourself, and you become the embodiment of chaos, and you lose that sense of order. So,
Wild.
yeah. So, I mean, like Heath Ledger's Joker is my favorite. That's my favorite live action villain, like Batman villain put to screen, or
Agreed.
even in any Batman movie, you know?
High key.
It's just so well done. And I think Jason and I were just talking about this, like the prison scene. The interrogation scene in The Dark Knight is my favorite scene in any Batman film, because I think that captures why Batman does what he does and why the Joker, it captures that conflict, that duality of them, you know. And Joker even says, like, you complete me. I mean, come on. Like,
I even was telling Jason the other day that's the first scene that they filmed for the movie.
Yes.
It's the whole tone for the
exactly,
It's set,
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's one of the great scenes of cinema. That actually brings me to what are your favorite villains, favorite depictions of villains in Batman films?
I was just thinking about Nick and the Penguin.
Oh my God. Definitely Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Top one.
Yeah, Danny DeVito's up the best.
Yeah, he is.
I laughed so hard.
He's the best.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
I am going to say, besides Heath Ledger's, Superman from and let me tell you, The Dark Knight Returns, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
So
Superman from The Dark Knight Returns, not
Yes.
Superman from Batman v Superman.
no, not Batman v Superman, The Dark Knight
Okay,
Returns.
go ahead.
Interesting.
So in that movie, what a villain is opposing the hero.
Yeah.
And in that movie, Superman
Or an
is
antagonist,
opposing,
yeah.
Yes, exactly. So in that movie, Superman is what Batman like despises. Power under like control of just people, like any government in it. So like in that movie, Superman is pretty much controlled by the U.S. government. The president is sending him out to do like missions and stuff like that.
So just a living weapon.
Yes, pretty much. And in that movie, the Justice League is disbanded, and they told Batman, "You can't be Batman anymore." So pretty much. And Superman is supposed to be that security of if Bruce Wayne ever became Batman again, Superman would have to put him down.
Really?
Yeah.
So I love that dynamic because it's when you know the history, it's Batman and Superman have been these allies, but Superman has gotten to a point where he's just a lapdog, and Bruce Wayne has gotten to a point where he's just old and he can't really do, and he's just broken. And then he comes back and he inspires hope again.
And I think when Superman becomes that, it's almost what Bruce Wayne would have become without Batman. And he resents that.
That's good. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason?
It's going to sound odd. So this is mostly because I haven't sat long enough on this question, but I will say this just while it's in my mind. I really did like the Arkham City's version of Penguin. It's the video game.
Yeah.
But just a crotchety mobster with. I really liked how they did the little monocle in his look. Yeah. It's actually just the bottom of a bottle that someone who did not like him shoved into his face around his eye. But he's got the power. He's got the collection. He's just made his whole little empire within Arkham City, and all the spite towards the Waynes is there, and the family, and how they basically bankrupted his own. If I'm right in that, my memory might be foggy, but the anger, the boiling point is all there, and just looks wise, it's good. It's not some creature with a legion of penguins. It's not just some guy with a. I did like the depiction in the Batman with the shriveled old face and visage and the scarring, but we haven't seen his potential yet. So in terms of the Penguin, I really liked that.
Man, you love birds. You really love birds, bro.
Get off me, okay? And there's a lot of different Jokers that I've liked too. I can't remember which series this was. It was animated. It's when the Joker is like just this hulking figure with bare feet.
Oh yeah,
red
that's
eyes
the Batman TV show. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. The one where he's got the slick back hair, Heath Ledger, I love just with the
And Mark Hamill's Joker is the goat.
Mark Hamill's Joker.
In, in the animated
It's a
series
chef's
or
kiss.
in the Arkham games is my favorite. That's my favorite Batman thing. Like even more than the comics to enjoy.
Oh wow.
Is those 4 games because I think
Is
they
Joker
tell.
with Mark Hamill.
Yeah, the cast in the Arkham games is a lot of the people from the animated series. It's meant to be a more adult version of the animated show. But like
Do it well.
oh my gosh, the Arkham games, like I almost cried as I played them because I was like, this is the Batman like stories and villain. I would say 90% of the villains are my favorite versions of the villains. Like that's
Honestly.
the best Scarecrow. It's the best Joker, best Riddler.
I do like the Scarecrow.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't played the games, but I watched all the gameplay of it.
Yeah.
And I like the cutscenes. And
Oh,
I do
it's
love
so
that story.
good.
The best Killer Croc that almost
Oh my
kills
gosh.
Scarecrow.
Yes.
I want an actual Killer Croc in a movie.
Yeah.
I need
Like
that.
that. Not the Suicide Squad
No,
trash.
not
Yeah.
the trash
I want
squad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was sad.
Yeah.
Just even a lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man would have been a better Killer Croc. Like man.
That was one of my favorite things. We could transition talking about Matt Reeves' Batman movie because we all just saw it together.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite things about the Batman is it pulled from so many different Batman influences that I love. So it pulled like literally Robert Pattinson's suit is from Arkham Origins. You put them side by side, it's the same suit.
Okay.
Just the scenarios of like, oh, now we got to go to the Iceberg Lounge. We got to find this person. Oh, I got to track Catwoman. That's like playing the Arkham game.
I thought in it as like in the movie, this feels like a video game.
Yes.
Not in a bad way.
In a good-
but it feels like these quests and you were getting these clues and as soon as a clue is revealed, it goes to the next thing.
We're going to talk about spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie,
Spoilers.
yes, spoiler alert.
Here is the alert.
Yeah, so
The
we're going to
gloves
talk
are
about
off.
spoilers probably for the next few minutes.
Batman died.
Inside.
He died in a way and was
Yeah.
reborn in a way. But yeah, so like even like the scene in the church with the bomb, that was that was literally in Arkham Knight. He does that. The Riddler does that to somebody in Arkham Knight. Like the same type of bomb, and you have to defuse it with these riddles and codes and stuff. I was like, they literally pulled that from the game. Or like the fact that Alfred gets attacked, like he's trying to attack Bruce Wayne. But he's
Alfred
trying to
gets
attack
it,
Alfred.
yeah.
That happened in Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
Like that same thing, you know? So it's like they pulled so much
Yeah.
from that game. But they pull a lot from other stuff too. There's a ton of year one. Like Catwoman is very year one.
Really?
Her look, but also like her, you know, relationship with Falcone, her living with a blonde girl, you know, like, you know, involvement in the nightclubs and stuff, like a sex worker. All that stuff comes from year one. Batman's gritty narration, his relationship with Gordon, how they're trying to do it, and also Long Halloween.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the very detective, like it starts on Halloween. The movie starts just like in the comic.
Which is a huge surprise.
I
That was like, oh my
love
gosh. I was like,
that.
oh my gosh.
I love that. That's when I knew we were in for something good.
Yeah.
And then also there's some of the things with his parents, you know, and Falcone and that relationship. Like there's literally scenes and dialogue pulled directly from Long Halloween.
Yeah.
So I just feel like Matt Reeves he loves Batman, and that came through. Yeah.
Even outside of like the Batman themes, like the we talked about in the theater, but it felt like the movie Seven. Just like with that the color pamphlet of it, just like the feeling of the serial killer vibes. I was like, ooh, this feels like even if you took Batman out, this would still be a good crime movie or a good like
Absolutely.
What's it called? Yeah.
Yeah, hold on, I'm talking a lot. Jason, what are your thoughts on the new Batman movie?
On the new Batman movie? Just in general?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got a lot. So I had a lot of thoughts. So basically, as I was saying, the personal journey and change of purpose.
He has an arc. Batman has an arc.
Yeah,
Yes, in that one movie. And I really liked how he completely did not deal with his trauma at all. And Bruce Wayne is pretty much non-existent as a person. It is only Batman. Even Falcone is like, this is the guy even more reclusive than me in this city.
Yeah.
But it started out with, I like how the movie just starts. The title is immediate and then it just goes right into it.
Bold.
And the first thing that he says, I believe anyways, is I am vengeance.
Yeah.
And that was the starting motivator is my parents died. Their legacy was keeping the city clean. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm doing this. I'm beating the crap out of people who deserve it.
Yeah.
But there's
Listen to
no
Nirvana
care
music.
for the victim.
He's
He's telling Catwoman, your friend was involved with the wrong people. Of course she died.
Yeah.
That's just what she got.
Yeah.
There's no care for the victim. There's no hope. There's no protection. There is only vengeance. There's only attack. There's only punishment.
And you know what I love about that too? When you're talking about it's only vengeance. That's what the guy says at the end as well. The Riddler goon. He was like, "I'm vengeance," and that's like one of those things. It's just like it sparks Batman. Like, oh my gosh,
Like this is who I am.
Yeah, this is
right
who
now.
I am. Like, man,
There's no difference.
I absolutely love the theme of hope in this movie.
Well, and he says that line, vengeance is not enough.
Yeah.
They need
said
hope.
that?
Batman says that in the
Oh,
voiceover.
that's right. At the end, and
Yeah.
there's the shot
sorry.
before that when he has the flare.
Yes.
and
Exactly.
he's leading all
Oh,
the people out, and there's that
And the
overhead shot.
boy, that relationship he has
Is that
throughout
the
the
boy?
movie
Yeah.
with
Oh my
the
gosh.
mayor, the orphan boy.
I cried.
And he
I'm
pulls
not
him
gonna
out.
lie.
I know he pulls him out first.
Yeah, because
You
everyone's
know?
so hesitant. Like, you just saved us, but you're still like a dude dressed in a bat suit.
Yeah.
So, like, do we really trust you? And then the first person that grabs Batman's hand is that boy that they have that same connection with. In the beginning.
then in the early part of the movie, he's like, there's the guy that was going to get beat up, and he's like terrified of Batman. He's like, please don't hurt me. But then at the end of the movie, the lady he's carrying, I think it was a lady he was carrying out, like clung to him. Like, she wouldn't
Was
let
it the
go.
mayor or was it
No,
someone
it was,
else?
No,
it was just
some-
that girl at the end. Remember, you put her on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And you lifted up.
But yeah, that was the hope. That was Batman. Like,
Yeah.
going like, I am here for you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm recognizing you. I'm acknowledging that you exist and that I'm here to protect you.
Yeah,
That's the hope.
Yeah.
And can we acknowledge?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, his acting through his eyes.
So good.
Oh my god.
And then in the interrogation
He brought
scene
it.
with the Riddler,
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like,
That's my...
with a reflection of who he could be.
yes.
Yes. Well, he's staring in that moment. He's staring at what he could become.
Yeah.
And he knows it. And all the acting is up here
Yeah.
in
My
his eyes.
gosh. that
And
was
even the
great.
idea that the Riddler is like, we did it together.
Yeah.
Like, he's realizing that his vengeance isn't enough because his vengeance is leading other people with vengeance, but without that moral code that he has.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my gosh, Paul Dano's performance in that scene,
Yes.
so
And
good.
and just the complete freak out when when Batman rejects him.
Yeah.
That gave me chills. Yeah.
Oh, it made me so uncomfortable.
It did.
I was like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh,
it,
what?
it makes you feel dirty because it's like you're.
Yes.
It feels like you're literally just watching a man just
break.
Yeah, just break. But
Like-
it's like he was already broken before he's breaking right now.
It was just the obsession when everything was good and everything fit
Yeah.
together, all the puzzles, everything that brought him comfort
Yeah.
But when
as
a
an
piece
orphan
didn't
was
fit.
good.
Yep.
He's there, but that was the mask.
Yeah.
Underneath, he is that kid just freaking out because
Yep.
it didn't go the way that
Yep.
he expected. The
Yeah.
comfort is gone. He is still an orphan under all the planning. Under all the conniving, all the scheming, he's still that kid shoved in with 30 alone.
But that's kind of like Bruce Wayne
Yep,
too.
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
The parallels between
Yeah.
them. Well, even it's interesting too because like there's the parallel of the Riddler and Batman. Like the Riddler's opening, he's looking through binoculars and he's like spying, and then he comes out of the shadows.
Yep.
And then what's Batman's first appearance? Comes out of the shadows.
I do like that. I think that's the best like
didn't even
depiction
notice that.
of Batman because it's like in like coming out to do crime because it's like in other movies it's just like okay like yeah Batman comes out like but like if you're like a criminal in like different areas it always
I
feels like
love that.
yeah it's like okay you feel like Batman like really only goes after like the big people but like the shadow like in this movie the shadows make you feel terrified because like
Yeah.
at any moment Batman can just come out
They're
of
like,
these shadows.
he's there.
Yeah.
He is there. I see that light in there.
Yes.
That's where he is.
Yes.
I kind of want out now.
It's
It's
that boogeyman feeling. It's just like, ooh,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw out a few statements, and you tell me if you agree or disagree with these.
Okay.
Okay.
Best cinematography in a Batman movie, like best looking Batman movie. Agree or disagree? Like, there's just so many shots I could put on a wall.
I can't remember the. I agree. Can't remember Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises so much in terms of just
Dark Knight
the
Rises
shots.
has some good cinematography.
Yeah, that's
Which one?
What I'm kind of
and Batman v Superman has also
yes.
amazing cinematography.
I'd have to revisit that,
but this movie had some shots that I'm just like,
I'd put it at top 3 because
Okay.
they're the ones that I do remember very. It is fresh, but the ones I remember with Batman just walking upside down with a fire behind
Yes,
him
yes,
towards the
that
penguin.
shot.
Yeah.
The shot with the flare.
Yeah.
Him holding on to the child's
Yeah.
arm.
Yes.
I'm still not. I'm gonna
yeah.
watch it again just to
Well,
see.
we can go and watch it like right now, and then we'll just come back to the podcast.
right?
And be like, oh
we'll
yeah,
just pick it up. Well, that brings up another thing. What you just said: best Batmobile sequence in a Batman film.
No,
What would you say is better?
Batman v Superman.
No.
Batman v Superman.
No,
I have to see
that sequence makes me so uncomfortable.
Because it's, again, I like. Okay. I'm not gonna lie though. That car chase was dope. But again,
was
Batman
sick.
lets people die on that freeway as well, so you can't really compare the two.
Yeah, but
'cause
what's he
Batman
gonna
let-
do? Guns
Go
on
into
the
reverse?
Batmobile gunning down.
Yeah.
everyone.
Oh, hold on. Let me say
The
this
thing,
guy.
the thing I'm gonna
Come on.
Joe, the thing I'm gonna give you with BVS, because I'm soft on BVS in a lot of things.
I am too. I
is,
love it.
Like the warehouse fight
Okay, yeah.
is unbelievable. But here's the thing, because I was talking to Jason about this the other day. That Batman, like in the warehouse fight, he's in his prime. It's so well done and made. But he definitely kills people in that
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, most definitely.
But this Matt
Stab that
Reeves,
dude
what Matt Reeves
straight
did
up.
action wise in this movie, I think we're gonna get sequences on that caliber
Okay.
in these films. Because already like
in the sequel.
not
you
in terms of like the killing, but in terms of the Batman being Batman. Because
Yeah.
there were so many fight scenes in this movie
Yeah.
where I was like, oh, he's being Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. You know?
And
Like,
this is new Batman. Like we saw him
young.
do not so great, like with the parachute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
love
definitely
that.
missed
I
the.
love that.
Yeah.
He missed the button input commands on
Yeah.
that video game.
Yes.
he hit the. So he was very new, still awkward, and
Yeah.
yet the fights were really good. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
what's to come.
I am
Yeah.
too. I guess not getting too ahead of ourselves, but I'm wondering what the future is going to hold.
Yeah.
For Batman.
Me too.
Yeah.
Best.
Well, you know who now?
I mean, I hope not though for the next one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you
I
saying
hope so.
that.
Yeah.
Best score for a Batman
Yes.
movie?
Yes.
And that's
Hands down.
tough because Batman v Superman was actually my favorite score. That's my favorite thing about the movie is the
And that's
score.
my second. That's my second favorite
Um,
score.
Tell me why I
But-
blocked that movie out of my head. I can't
Bro,
remember
I
anything.
love
I
that
actually
movie.
have
Watch
that-
the Ultimate Edition.
I listened to that soundtrack.
Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Ultimate Edition is the only version worth watching.
Yeah.
The regular version's trash.
Sounds like a night.
but
High
sounds
key.
like a night.
Yes.
But the score of this movie surpassed it, and that's because Batman's theme is so hauntingly beautiful, and like the Riddler, the Ave Maria usage,
Hauntingly
and,
grotesque.
and how
Yeah.
it actually, if you know like music theory, it actually is like slightly changing notes in Ave Maria.
It kinda
so it's
even-
breaking
Yeah.
the beauty of that hymn.
It even kind of sounds like the Imperial March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it gets all big like
Yeah,
that,
mhm.
yeah. And I like the music, it feels like that timeless classical feel,
Yeah.
which like the animated series has that I
Yeah.
love. You know, like the little piano sonata during the credits. I'm just like, gosh, I could listen to this music by itself.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's like my favorite scores is like when I can listen to it just as music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my favorite thing about the Batman is that it's ultimately a story about Batman. He's lost his connection with humanity. And it's about him getting it back. Like through Alfred, you know, that moment where he holds Alfred's hand.
Yeah.
Man.
That touched me so much. And then everything from there, he starts to come back.
Yeah.
Because he realizes like the Riddler is that loss of connection
Yeah.
of humanity. And the Batman is coming back to it. Like Bruce Wayne is like this ghost who's just going through, you know?
Yeah.
But and it's essentially what BVS was trying to do is the story of him being detached, but I think this did it way better.
I was even going to say one of my biggest gripes about this movie, but it serves the purpose of the movie, is that Bruce Wayne is like non-absent and it's just
agreed.
Batman. And at first, like it was like, I don't really like that. But seeing it, like looking back at the whole movie, it serves its purpose.
It works.
And it works.
Yes.
And I hope that next movie they do better on that, because if it doesn't, then it's gonna be an issue for me.
I don't know about better if that was the point, but if they still have non-existent Bruce Wayne, I can see Bruce Wayne actually going, "Hey, Mayor, I know you approached me. Let's actually do something now because the mayor survived."
Yeah.
But that was really good.
She did survive,
turning going back to the moment with Alfred, that is the huge changing point. He says, "I never thought that I would feel that fear again."
Yeah.
Like fear was not existent; he had become it.
Yeah,
he was no longer necessarily so much of a human, but he's just realized, wow, I really did throw away my humanity. Earlier, he said, "I don't care if I die; I'm just going to keep doing this." And then he realized, wait a minute, Alfred is there. I don't want him gone.
Yeah.
I am human still. And him reaching out for the hand that Alfred gave him, it's like, I'm reaching out for that hand of, I am a human being. I am caring about people now. I do need to inspire hope. That's the step back.
Yeah.
And I'm really a sucker for that kind of story.
Yeah.
I'm really a sucker for that.
In the short scenes that Andy Serkis was in this movie with Alfred, they stuck. That's like, I want to see more of his performance as Alfred.
All these actors, Jeffrey Wright's Gordon, all the villains.
# favorite character, because he's just an average man trying to make this work in his life, and he's like, bro, I don't have anything else besides this dude dressing up as a bat.
Oh, Jim Gordon?
With Jim Gordon.
Dude, I love Jim Gordon.
It's just like, he's like, his options have run out to the point where it's like he has to trust this unknown variable. Because in this city, and as you learn throughout the movie, this city is corrupt to its core.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course he would have no other options besides this man, because the options that he should have are already corrupted.
Right. Yeah, he's probably my favorite Gordon of any of the films.
Yeah. I love how... Oh, cool. Sorry.
I was going to say just real quick, Andy Serkis, I loved him. I didn't know if I got enough of him. I really like Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I really like. It was maybe because I like his voice so much.
You have to help me out
from Batman v Superman.
Oh, I don't even.
I love that Alfred because he's very tactical.
I wonder if I even watched.
He's very tactical, but he's also like What we could do is we could start to transition into ranking the Batman films. now.
I did.
So with the rankings here, I don't know if you guys. I listed like 13. I don't know if you want to go through all 13 or if you just want to say like what your worst. Like, what's the worst Batman movie?
Let's do top 3.
Top 3 favorites and your worst.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Top 2 or top...
Yeah, let's do top 3. That's good.
For the worst.
For worst?
Oh, top 3 for the worst?
I would say top 2 worst and then top 3...
Okay, fine. Okay. Yes, yeah. Like anyone want to go first on that?
I mean, I already have it, so I guess...
Yeah,
go for it.
Joe go first.
Okay. My first is obviously The Dark Knight. I feel like that's everybody's top fave. I would say my second... is Batman v Superman. As you've heard me throughout the podcast, you understand why. And then my third is The Batman.
Okay.
It got my top 3.
It landed in.
And if I had to do a fourth, it would be The Dark Knight Rises. Just because that movie's so quotable.
Bane is the best.
Yes.
Bane is what saves that movie. If he was not in the movie, it would be one of the worst. Oh my gosh!
Oh man!
We can sit here. We can do a whole podcast just quoting Bane,
right?
That movie, so many good lines.
That's why I love it.
I love that Bane.
It's funny.
Okay, what about your 2 worst?
My 2 worst are my second to last is Batman with Adam West, just because I haven't seen it. It's like I don't really know.
Hey.
And then my third is Batman Returns, and that's the one with Penguin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that freaked me out as a kid.
I hope Nick doesn't hear this one,
bro. That Penguin freaked me out, and then Catwoman just looked weird.
Yeah,
and she just looked like a corpse, and I'm just like, I'm not a fan of this. Yeah.
Fair.
So,
all right, Jason, what about you?
So, I'm really bad at categorizing things into hierarchies. Terrible.
Shame on you.
No, I don't care. Only for right now does that really matter. I'm finding out, but I am not sure if I put the Batman over Dark Knight.
Okay.
Because I just remember the moments in Dark Knight so vividly.
Yeah.
In the suspense, and I was like, wow, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know what the next scheme is.
Yeah.
And even when I did know, kind of what was going to happen, I was like, ooh, I still don't want it to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there was just so many cool moments. The acting was great. Even though I don't necessarily put Christian Bale's Batman above Robert Pattinson anymore.
Are we going to do that? Are we going to talk about favorite Batman?
Oh, yeah. We totally skipped that, huh?
Well,
We can talk about it after.
we didn't skip it if we're going to
We can talk about it as we're doing it. So,
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like,
go
here,
ahead,
Joe,
go
I'll
ahead.
come back to you in a second.
So
but-
should I tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So no, I do like Robert Pattinson's Batman better. Of course, the Bruce Wayne aspect is kind of non-existent, but we do
Right.
see him as just I don't care.
Right.
I am only Batman now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like you said, the acting with the eyes, the awkwardness of him.
Yeah.
Because he is a recluse as Bruce Wayne, he has no idea how to interact with anyone else.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
It was really funny just holding up the thumb drive, standing in the way of the coroner, just unable to spatially exist with other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Jim Gordon just not caring, like, hey, you need to be better at this, man. Like, he called
Come on, bro.
Batman man 8 times in the movie.
Yeah.
That was like his best friend.
It was hilarious. Yeah, it's just like, I can only trust you, and
Yeah.
I don't even know who you are, man. It was really funny. But
So your top three are Dark Knight.
So I would say Dark Knight and the Batman, but they're almost kind of interchangeable.
Okay.
And then I've really only seen, in terms of Batman movies,
Yeah.
we're doing movies, The Dark Knight Rises is the most familiar, but I do remember the movie with Robin being turned into Joker. I can't remember that, but I knew
That
that
was-
Under the Red Hood.
Yeah. No, that's
No,
not
the
under
cartoon one.
The animated one.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
he's-
Batman
where he's
Beyond
like a
Return
little
of the Joker.
Joker kid and he shoots
Yeah,
Joker.
the
Yeah,
Return of the Joker. There we go.
Yeah.
So I would need to rewatch that, but I know
Sure.
that I just really liked that one.
Yeah.
So
What about your two least favorite?
my two least favorite, I would say just from the 10 minutes that you showed me of that movie, where Batman and Robin,
Batman and
where
Robin,
they have
that's-
just
I showed him
skates?
the ice skating scene, the hockey scene.
they click
He
their
had
boots.
never seen it.
You have to show him that scene.
They click their boots together and just ice skates pop out. I'm like, get out of here. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They're fighting hockey players, just demonic hockey players. This is
Demonic hockey players.
This is too much.
If you have to think about it, Batman's just walking around with like ice skates in his like
Just in case.
Yeah,
That was
just
a
in
huge
case.
revelation.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That one, and I almost don't want to put Adam West's Batman.
I don't either, just because it's of its time.
It was just hilarious. I
never seen it.
couldn't
It's of
hate
its
it.
time.
It was so goofy.
It's very
So-
iconic in a lot of ways.
I don't
Yeah.
think I've seen enough. That's the
Yeah.
only one that I dislike.
Fair. Joe, real quick before I share mine,
Yeah.
your favorite Batman.
Mom, what's it called? Besides, I really like Pattinson.
Yeah.
He's great. I want to see more.
Yeah.
But until I see more, I would still say Ben Affleck. Kind of with the stuff I shared in the beginning.
Yeah.
I like his portrayal of Batman. He plays that like. It's not only like what I said before. Like I like the fact that like he's broken.
Yeah.
But he plays the Bruce Wayne and the Batman. That Batman that the story
I
is telling.
100% believe
is good.
he's the best Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he's definitely one of the best Batmans.
Yes, his Bruce Wayne is like perfect because you believe like, oh, I've been doing this for like a while. Oh, I'm drunk at this party, but no, I'm really putting this security thing in because I'm trying to get information.
Yeah, I think he's really good Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne, because Bruce Wayne, like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, is a little too much of a jerk at times. Like Bruce Wayne's not like a jerk.
He's just suave.
He's
Like,
just
"Oh, I'm
suave,
just-
and
yeah.
you
I
know,
love-
like Ben
I love
Affleck
women."
got that suave down. He really got it.
Yeah.
Or
So,
like that scene where he's just waking up and there's like a girl in the
already
bed,
next to-
and
yeah.
you're just like, yep, that's Bruce Wayne. You know, like okay, so my top three. I'll do my worst real quick.
Okay.
So and if you want to see my full ranking, In the show notes, I'm going to include a link to my Letterboxd.
Okay.
And I have a list. You guys got to get on Letterboxd so we can be neat, geeky film people together on there. But I'm going to do my full ranking on Letterboxd, and that'll be in the show notes if you're interested. Or if you have a Letterboxd, feel free to hit me up on there. My top 2 worst, my bottom of the barrel is Batman and Robin.
Okay.
Yep.
But it makes for a great drinking game.
Really? In what sense?
Take a shot every time there's an ice pun.
That's funny.
You might get really drunk. And then the other one I would probably put there as well. So my bottom 2 represent like the worst extremes of Batman.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, the ultimate worst of the campy side. And I think Batman Returns is when you go too far into that miserable, you know, and it's not really about Batman, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, Danny DeVito giving marching orders to penguins is very entertaining.
It's the best
but
scene.
I think that movie misses so much of Batman. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like that movie.
That's so...
But my top ones, number 3, I would put The Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman.
As
number 3.
Okay.
Yep. And I put Dark Knight at number 2. And I think somewhere between those 2 movies is the best Batman movie. Like Dark Knight and The Batman.
If you put them together.
Those 2, if somebody was like, give me 2 movies, I'd say if you watch those 2 movies, you'll get a good idea of what Batman's all about.
Yes.
Like, I think The Batman is the best movie, live action movie about Batman. And Dark Knight, I almost feel like Dark Knight is bigger than a Batman movie. It's more about a movie about what it means to be human and in the world and stuff. And they're using Batman characters to tell that story. But my number 1
That's interesting. What's
is
your number 1, then?
Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, yeah.
So it's I actually got the pin right here, signed by Bruce Timm himself.
Bruce Timm?
Yep. I met him at Comic-Con one year.
Actually,
and had him sign that pin that I scrounged to find. But the reason why I love Mask of the Phantasm is because Mask of the Phantasm, I think, best explains in one movie why Batman does what he does. And I love the fact that we got to see a glimpse in that movie of what his life could have been like if he did not. If he was not Batman, and it shows how powerful the trauma is affecting him. It's one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Yeah, and Mark Hamill's Joker just absolutely kills it because it's not confined to the ratings of the show.
Yep.
So he's able to go a little darker in it.
Yep.
But yeah, Mask of the Phantasm, that's my number 1 pick. I think Kevin Conroy is the best Batman. Between Mask of the Phantasm and the Arkham games and the animated series, I think he is the Batman that I hear, and I think that's my pick for the best Batman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was gonna say Lego Batman movie, but don't sleep on Lego Batman movie.
Listen, I watched the Lego Batman movie. I'm sleeping on it.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's not.
It's genuinely hilarious, and my kids love it. It's a great introduction to them.
He's a dad, so that's why it's kind of
kids love that. Yeah.
Well, no, I like it too. I think the first 20 to 30 minutes of Lego Batman movie is some of the hardest I've ever laughed in a kids movie.
Really?
It's that funny. Like literally hit after like the jokes just land.
Then you haven't seen Megamind.
I've not seen Megamind.
Whoa, can we do a Megamind podcast? I will lead that one.
Oh man, I love that movie.
I can agree with you on one thing.
We're going to start to wrap this up. It's been going on pretty long. I know we're having a good time with it. You know, if you're really enjoying all this talk about Batman and stories, you know, I do a workshop, Live a Meaningful Story, and I do it not just for adults, but for kids as well. So whether you maybe work at a program with teens, or whether you're an adult and you just love talking about this stuff, I do a workshop and I talk about what this means for our lives and the stories that we live. So go to allthingsnarrative.com and learn more about these workshops, learn more about what we do and how the stories we love influence the stories we live. And Batman is a great, great story that we're inspired by. So that's actually what I want to wrap with here is I think the reason why Batman has stayed relevant for 80 plus years is because we connect with him so well. So I want to kind of just ask you guys a personal question here. What is it about Batman that you're most drawn to, that keeps you invested in it and has helped you to live a more meaningful story in your life?
Well, I wouldn't say what deeply moves me, but I would say the part that related to me the most was at the end of the Batman when the girl grabs Batman's arm, and it's just that look of like, I need you here.
Yeah.
And Batman realizes like this is the symbol he's supposed to be, the symbol of hope.
The light, yeah.
Even though he is a dark knight, he's still a light to these people of Gotham. And brought the tear to my eye. I was like, dang, like, yeah, he's not just this brooding person or this brooding like superhero. He is a person that inspires people.
Yeah.
So
it made me think of Noah. Like, it made me think of how a flood can come, right, and destroy, but then Noah leading out of the ark.
Yeah.
You know, you got Batman leading a new generation that's going to see things differently now.
Yeah.
You know, and of course we know that Gotham, which I love how Gotham's depicted in that movie.
absolutely love it.
And you know Gotham's still going to be corrupt, and the world's going to be corrupt after Noah. But there's this realization there that, you know, this experience can lead people into something new. So that's awesome that you shared that.
Yeah, thank you.
What about you, Jason?
I don't know. I don't think about Batman a whole lot, you know, in my day-to-day. I don't always connect. I go, oh, that's cool. I like the Arkham games. The movies and the TV series were really cool. But what I really liked, and I'm going to fight to say that was the orphan. But even this theme is still in the movie. Is he is fixated on this newly orphaned child because he's seeing himself.
Yeah.
He is reconciling with that past self of his, the trauma where it started, and he's giving hope. It's almost like, you know, seeing, okay, this was me.
Yeah.
And maybe I was ashamed of this person or this kid, and and I remember his struggles, and I remember his pain, and I'm accepting that part of myself. I'm maybe even forgiving some parts of that person, and I want to now inspire. Like it's almost like those. If you could write a letter to yourself when you were 10, what would you tell that person? This is him giving that 10-year-old little boy hope, inspiration.
Yes.
Hey,
good.
it doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to turn out like me right now.
Yeah.
But just also accepting it and like, this is me. This is who I was, and I love that part of myself.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really liked, and I guess I could really connect with in this movie. And also just what values do you hold as hard as you can, that no matter how hard it is in life, that you just continue to stick to that.
Wow.
This is a
that's
line
good.
I do not cross. There's a lot of lines that I have in my own life that I do not cross, and they get pushed, and just the core of who I am, the identity that's been set before me, how much will I fight to keep that?
Wow. That's good.
That was good.
I agree with both of you guys. I resonate as well with what you guys said. The one piece I'll add to that is actually in regards to the villains. The villains really are the externalizations of the problems that Batman faces. And when I think about the things that we deal with, the deadly sins of life, so to speak, you know, when I think of lust, I could think of Poison Ivy. When I think of chaos, I'll think of the Joker. When I think of fear, I'll think of Scarecrow. When I think of obsession, I'll think of Bane. When I think of, you know, the idea of duality, of having two faces, I'll think of Two-Face. You know, when I think of,
Or trying to serve two masters, really.
yeah, exactly. You know, like the Batman, the gift that it gives me, and it gives so many people, is it gives like a concrete representation of these abstract ideas.
Yeah.
You know,
good.
so I'm able to like see not just what they are to better understand how they work, because the best Batman stories tap into how these villains work, you know, and to see a man who never gives up facing these things it inspires you, you know, because you look at that and you realize how broken the world is, you know, how corrupt it is. And you see that in these villains, and you see that, you know, and you look at that and you go, yeah, but there's still hope.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, despite what I face, I can face that.
Yeah.
Because the trauma and the pains that I've gone through can actually speak to me in a way that empowers me to face those things. And it's that aspect on the quest of becoming the best kind of human you can be that I keep coming back to Batman.
That's really cool. Dang, I'm probably ain't even going to start thinking of it like, you know, who am I fighting today? Am I fighting Bane? Am I fight like what aspect of myself am I battling?
You know, am I up against something smarter than myself, like the Riddler? Is there something, you know, like whatever it is, you put yourself in that story and you let it gives you more language and more representation of things, which is, I think, what great stories do. So
that's good.
Yeah, so that's why we love Batman, why we love the Batman. And so thank you guys for tuning in. And, you know, if you guys want to hit up Mr. Joseph Wilson.
That's right.
On YouTube and check out the work that he does, because Joe is a storyteller as well. Yes. And so we'll talk more in future episodes about that. But remind them again where they can find you.
Yes, that's on YouTube at Joe Lee Stark 25, JoeLee space. I'm telling you guys, remember that space. STARK 25.
Awesome. And if you want to learn more about what we do here at All Things Narrative, go to allthingsnarrative.com. Follow us on social media. Hit me up on Letterboxd just for fun if you want. And we will be back next month. Should we reveal what it is? Tell them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do it.
Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Star Trek. Nice.
Get out. Get out. Get out now. Get out.
Han Solo, I am your father. Isn't that the right line?
He doesn't even say Luke.
Farewell, everyone.
He says no.
This is the All Things Narrative podcast. Please forgive us, and please join us next time. Take care.